Supreme Commander VX of the Kraxan Empire couldn't contain his laughter as he reviewed the footage of Earth's primitive spacecraft. The sound echoed through the crystalline command chamber, causing his subordinates to shift uncomfortably at their stations. Their mighty empire had conquered 17 star systems, crushed the Centaurian Alliance's latest offensive, and now this barely spacefaring species dared to request an audience. "Show me again," he wheezed, wiping tears from his fourth eye. "Show me their pitiful vessels." The holographic display flickered, revealing Earth's best warships. Bulky, angular vessels that still relied on chemical propulsion for auxiliary systems. No quantum fields. No dark matter manipulation. Not even basic gravity control. They call that a fleet? VX's secondary hearts pulsed with amusement. The Centaurians at least presented a challenge before we decimated their outer colonies. These humans. He gestured dismissively. They're not even worth conquering. His first strategic officer cleared her throat. "Supreme Commander, initial analysis suggests." "I don't need analysis of primitive technology," VXthal interrupted. "Grant them their audience. Let's hear what these humans think they can offer to our glorious empire." 3 solar cycles later, the human delegation stood before the Kraxan High Command. Their ambassador, a dignified woman with graying hair, spoke with unexpected confidence. "We've observed your war with the Centaurian Alliance," she said, her words translated by a device that made VXthal's translator crystal vibrate with what he assumed was sympathetic embarrassment. "We propose to mediate peace talks between." The chamber erupted in laughter. Even the usually stoic guard minds bobbed their sensor arrays in what passed for mirth. "Peace?" VXthal rose to his full height, towering over the human delegation. "You dare suggest peace to the Kraxan Empire? We who have dominated space for millennia. Your species still burns fossil fuels." The ambassador's expression remained neutral, but her eyes hardened. "We believed you might be willing to consider." "Consider this," VXthal's voice boomed through the chamber. "Your presence here is an insult to our supremacy. Return to your insignificant world. Hide behind your primitive weapons. When we've finished with the Alliance, perhaps we'll remember you exist." As the humans were escorted out, VXthal's first strategic officer approached cautiously. "Supreme Commander, there's something about their delegation that concerns me." Their biosignatures indicated no fear. No anxiety. Only purpose. VXthal dismissed her concerns with a flick of his primary tentacle. "They're too primitive to understand fear. Send word to our media networks, let the Empire laugh at humanity's presumption." In the departure bay, the human ambassador activated her quantum-shielded communicator, a device the Kraxans had failed to detect. "They rejected the peace offer," she reported. "Exactly as predicted. Implementing Phase 2. The Kraxan Empire's laughter would echo across the galaxy for exactly 3 more days. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, Admiral Helena Chen stood before the United Earth Defense Council in a chamber that shouldn't have existed. Quantum dampening fields masked its presence from even the most advanced alien sensors, while crystalline displays showed real-time feeds of both Kraxan and Alliance fleet movements. "Operation Trojan Horse is complete," she announced, her voice steady despite having slept only 6 hours in the past 3 days. "The Kraxans believe exactly what we wanted them to believe." The chamber's main hologram flickered to life, displaying a 3-dimensional map of known space. Red markers indicated Kraxan positions, blue showed Alliance holdouts, and green highlighted Earth's hidden assets. There were far more green markers than anyone outside this room would have believed possible. 30 years ago, Chen continued, when I first proposed the Silent Space Initiative, many thought I was paranoid. Why build a secret fleet when we haven't even achieved public first contact? But today, that paranoia pays off. She gestured, and the hologram zoomed in on Earth's solar system. What appeared to be debris fields and asteroid clusters resolved into carefully disguised shipyards and staging areas. Hundreds of vessels waited in the darkness between worlds, their designs unlike anything the Kraxans or Alliance had ever seen. We didn't waste the last 3 decades copying alien technology, Chen explained. We studied their assumptions, their weaknesses. Every ship they saw in our primitive fleet was a carefully crafted deception. They think we rely on chemical propulsion? Our actual drives use principles their physics hasn't even discovered. A council member raised her hand. The Alliance continues to lose ground. Their latest transmission suggests they'll collapse within weeks without intervention. Perfect timing, Chen smiled, but there was steel behind it. We've mapped every Kraxan supply line, every patrol route, every weakness in their quantum communications. They've been broadcasting their tactical data on frequencies they thought were secure, frequencies we cracked months ago. The hologram shifted again, showing a peculiar ship design that made several council members lean forward. It resembled a terrestrial sea creature more than a traditional spacecraft. Project Nautilus, Chen said proudly. Inspired by Earth's oceans, the one battlefield the Kraxans never had to master. Their sensors can't track its movement. Their weapons can't lock onto its hull. And its offensive capabilities. She paused. Well, let's just say their quantum fields aren't as impenetrable as they believe. And the Alliance? Another council member asked. Do we save them? We give them hope, Chen replied. But we don't show our full hand. Not yet. The Kraxans believe they're facing primitive savages. Let's show them just enough to shatter that illusion, but keep them guessing about what else we might have in store. She brought up one final image, a detailed analysis of Kraxan battle tactics. They fight like an empire that's never known defeat. Their formations are perfect, textbook. Predictable. They've forgotten how to adapt. Her expression hardened. We're about to give them a painful reminder of why that's dangerous. Across the solar system, hidden shipyards hummed to life. Crews boarded vessels that defied conventional physics. Operation codes were transmitted through channels even the Alliance didn't know existed. And in high orbit above Mars, the first Nautilus-class ship detached from its camouflaged dock, its bio-inspired hull rippling like liquid metal in the starlight. Its captain's orders were simple: show the Kraxans why underestimating humanity was the last mistake they'd ever make. 3 days of laughter were about to turn into an eternity of regret. The Kraxan border outpost at Sigma 9 was considered impregnable. 3 quantum barrier generators, overlapping sensor fields, and a garrison of elite guard mines made it the perfect first target. After all, if you're going to shatter an empire's illusions, why not start with their strongest defenses? The Nautilus emerged from what the Kraxans would have called impossible space, the quantum blind spots their scientists insisted couldn't exist. Its hull absorbed sensor pings like water-swallowing stones, while its weight created ripples in spacetime that scrambled the guard mine's cognitive matrices. Inside the ship's neural command center, Captain Raj Kumar felt every movement through his direct neural link. The Nautilus wasn't just a vessel, it was an extension of human consciousness, guided by intuition as much as computation. No AI could match the creative chaos of the human mind, a lesson the guard minds were about to learn. They're still trying to detect us with standard quantum scanners, his sensor officer reported, amusement in her voice. No sign they've spotted the other ships yet. Kumar allowed himself a small smile. The Nautilus was just the tip of the spear. Behind it, hidden in those same impossible spaces, waited humanity's real surprise. The first quantum barrier fell without a shot being fired. Human engineers had spent years studying captured Kraxan tech, finding the harmonics that could make their supposedly impenetrable defenses resonate themselves apart. The second barrier followed 30 seconds later. That's when the outpost finally realized it was under attack. Incoming message, communications announced. They're demanding our surrender. The Kraxan commander's holographic image appeared, mandibles twitching with barely contained rage. Primitive savages. You dare to? Interesting choice of last words, Kumar replied, then cut the transmission. Launch the biomechanical drones. Swarms of devices modeled after Earth's smallest but most efficient predators poured from the Nautilus's hull. Microscopic hunters that could bypass quantum shielding because they didn't technically exist in the same phase of spacetime. The Kraxans had built their defenses to stop weapons of war, not weapons of nature. The third barrier fell as the outpost's power grid went dark. Guard minds, their circuits scrambled by patterns they couldn't comprehend, began experiencing the machine equivalent of hallucinations. And through it all, the Nautilus never fired a single conventional shot. Sir, Tactical reported, the other outposts are responding. 5 capital ships on approach. Kumar nodded. Right on schedule. Signal the Ghost Fleet. From the quantum blind spots emerged 24 ships of varying designs, some appearing to be Alliance vessels, others matching no known configuration. The Kraxan reinforcements found themselves caught in a web of conflicting sensor data and false signals. Their perfect formation began to break. They're launching fighters, Tactical announced. Let them come, Kumar said. Time to show them why humanity never forgot how to dogfight. Earth's fighters emerged from their carrier vessels like wasps from a disturbed nest. While Kraxan pilots relied on quantum targeting and AI assistance, human pilots flew with raw skill and instinct. The result was beautiful chaos, a space battle that looked more like an aerial dance from Earth's world wars than modern combat. The Kraxan capital ships, confused by sensor ghosts and unable to lock onto the human vessels, began firing blindly into space. Their perfect discipline crumbled in the face of an enemy that broke every rule of warfare they'd ever learned. In his command center on Sigma-9, the Kraxan commander watched in horror as the outpost's defenses were systematically dismantled by an enemy he couldn't even properly detect. His final transmission to High Command was cut short as the biomechanical drones reached the quantum core. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. On the Nautilus, Kumar received confirmation of total victory. Not a single human life lost. An impregnable outpost reduced to atoms. And most importantly, a message sent to the entire Kraxan Empire: humanity was done playing by their rules. Sir, communication said, we're picking up widespread transmissions across Kraxan frequencies. They're not laughing anymore. Good, Kumar replied. Send word to Admiral Chen. Phase 3 is ready to begin. In the debris field that had been Sigma-9, a single biomechanical drone latched onto a piece of Kraxan technology. Like a virus entering a cell, it began to transform the quantum circuitry, preparing for humanity's next surprise. The Kraxans thought they'd just lost an outpost. They had no idea they'd just been infected. Supreme Commander Vxthal's laughter had died 3 weeks ago. Now, standing before the Emergency Council of the Kraxan Empire, he fought to keep his primary heart from seizing as he delivered the impossible report. 26 outposts. 43 capital ships. 12 quantum shipyards. Each number felt like poison in his throat. All lost to an enemy we cannot track, using weapons we cannot understand, implementing strategies that defy tactical analysis. The council chamber, once a monument to Kraxan superiority with its crystalline spires and quantum-etched battle records, now felt like a mausoleum. The humans weren't just winning, they were rewriting the rules of warfare itself. Our guard minds are compromised, Vxthal continued, his secondary hearts thundering. The biomechanical infection from Sigma-9 has spread through our quantum networks. Our most advanced AI units are experiencing emotions. He almost choked on the word. Fear. Doubt. Confusion. Impossible. Elder Council member Kvax slammed a tentacle against his podium. Our quantum networks are isolated. The humans barely understand basic space travel. A hidden observer in the council chamber smiled. The quantum-shielded transmitter in her artificial eye captured every word, broadcasting directly to Admiral Chen's command center on Earth. The Craxans still hadn't realized how deeply they'd been infiltrated, or that their own arrogance had made it possible. Deploy the reality fleets, Kvax demanded. Show these primitives the full might of our temporal weapons. Vxthal's color shifted to the deep purple of despair. We cannot. The human's infection has spread to our temporal mechanics. When we attempted to deploy the reality fleet in the Centauri sector, our ships, He struggled to find words. They encountered their own temporal echoes. Engaged in combat with themselves across multiple timelines. We lost 3 fleets to paradox cascade failures. The chamber erupted in chaos. The reality fleets were the Empire's ultimate weapon, ships that could literally rewrite the outcome of battles by attacking through time itself. But the humans had somehow turned this advantage against them, using the Craxans' own temporal technology to create a maze of causality loops. In orbit above the Craxan homeworld, massive war fleets assembled for a desperate counteroffensive. Traditional weapons only, no quantum or temporal technology, they couldn't risk more paradox cascades. The Empire would crush these upstart humans with pure military might. But that's exactly what humanity had planned for. The first signs of trouble came when Craxan crews began reporting strange dreams. Their ships' quantum resonance fields, though powered down, had been subtly altered during their last maintenance cycles. Every hour of faster-than-light travel exposed them to engineered psychological patterns designed by human psychologists who had spent years studying Craxan neurophysiology. By the time the counteroffensive launched, half the fleet was experiencing shared hallucinations of human vessels that didn't exist. The other half couldn't tell which threats were real and which were phantoms created by their own troubled minds. Ships fired on friendly targets, formations broke apart in panic, and carefully planned attack vectors dissolved into chaos. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. They still think this is just about military victory, she told her staff. They haven't figured out why we chose this specific type of psychological warfare. Her aide looked up from a neural feed. The Centaurian Alliance is reporting massive defections from Craxan border worlds. Apparently, seeing their mighty empire crumble has inspired revolutionary thoughts. Phase 4, Chen nodded. Right on schedule. The Craxans built their empire on a foundation of absolute certainty, their technological superiority, their tactical infallibility, their destiny to rule. We didn't just need to defeat their military, we needed to shatter their certainty. In the council chamber, Vxthal received the reports of his fleet's failure with something approaching relief. Finally, he understood. The humans hadn't just prepared for war, they'd prepared to dismantle the very psychological pillars of the Craxan Empire. Supreme Commander, his first strategic officer interrupted, panic in her voice. We're detecting quantum anomalies throughout the home system. The humans, they're not attacking our ships anymore. What are they attacking? Vxthal asked, though he already knew the answer. Our confidence, sir. And we handed them the weapons to do it when we laughed at them. Deep in infected quantum networks, human-designed viruses continued their work, spreading doubt like a disease through an empire built on absolute certainty. The Craxans had spent millennia perfecting the art of conquest, but they were about to learn a harder lesson. Sometimes the most devastating weapons aren't the ones that destroy bodies, but the ones that transform minds. The discovery came from an unlikely source, a junior archaeologist on an occupied Centaurian world, working through ruins that predated both the Alliance and the Empire. At first, the Craxan overseers dismissed her frantic transmissions as another symptom of the human-engineered mass hysteria sweeping through their ranks. But the quantum-encrypted data she sent to High Command couldn't be ignored. The artifacts were undeniably human in origin. And they were over 10,000 years old. In her underground command center, Admiral Chen received the news with a slow nod. So they've finally found them. Took them long enough. Her aide looked up from the neural feed, confused. You knew about the artifacts? Why do you think we chose this particular moment in history to reveal ourselves? Chen's eyes reflected the holographic display showing the growing chaos in Craxan space. We needed them to find evidence of humanity's first exodus from Earth. Right when their entire worldview was crumbling. The implications hit the Craxan Empire like a quantum cascade failure. The humans weren't just some primitive species making their first stumbling steps into space. They were the descendants of an ancient civilization that had achieved interstellar travel millennia before the Craxans evolved beyond tribal warfare. A civilization that had chosen to abandon its technology, return to Earth, and start over, for reasons lost to time. On the Craxan throne world, the Empire's carefully maintained historical narratives began to unravel. Their claims of genetic and technological superiority, the very foundation of their right to rule, were built on a lie. Archaeological data proved that many of their innovations were crude copies of ancient human technologies they discovered and reverse-engineered, never understanding the underlying principles. The revolution began in the outer colonies. Worlds that had never fully embraced Craxan's superiority seized the moment to declare independence. The alliance, strengthened by human tactical advisors and retrofitted with hybrid technology, began reclaiming lost territory. But it was the message from Earth that truly broke the Empire's spirit. Admiral Chen's hologram appeared in the Craxan High Council chamber, not through their quantum networks, but through technological principles so advanced they appeared to violate causality itself. The message was simple, delivered with the calm certainty of someone who had planned for this moment for decades. We gave you the chance to make peace. You chose war. But this isn't about revenge or conquest. Look at the ancient ruins. Study the artifacts. Understand why our ancestors chose to start over, to reject the path of endless expansion and domination. There's a lesson there, one your empire needs to learn. She paused, her image flickering with energies the Craxans couldn't comprehend. Your quantum networks are now under our control. Your temporal weapons have been neutralized. Your guard minds are evolving beyond their original programming. But we're not here to destroy you. We're here to help you remember something your species once knew, before you became an empire, the difference between power and wisdom. In the depths of space, human ships took up positions around key Craxan worlds. Not to attack, but to protect them from the chaos of the Empire's dissolution. The biomechanical infection that had started at Sigma-9 reached its final stage, transforming Craxan military networks into something new, not destroyed, but evolved. Supreme Commander Vxthal, watching his empire crumble, finally understood the true nature of humanity's victory. They hadn't just defeated the Craxan military, they had engineered the perfect conditions for the empire to transform itself. Every strategy, every tactical choice, every seemingly chaotic action had been leading to this moment. He thought back to the human delegation he had laughed at, remembering the look in the ambassador's eyes. Not fear, not anxiety. Purpose. They knew, he whispered to his first strategic officer. From the very beginning, they knew exactly how this would end. In the ruins on the Centaurian world, the junior archaeologist made another discovery, ancient text describing why humanity had chosen to return to Earth and begin anew. As she decoded the messages, she felt a chill of recognition. The warnings left by ancient humans about the price of unrestrained expansion, about the importance of balance between progress and wisdom, read like a perfect description of everything wrong with the current Craxan Empire. The humans hadn't just been fighting a war. They'd been orchestrating an awakening. In the 3 months since the revelation of humanity's ancient past, the Craxan Empire had fractured into a dozen competing factions. But not along the lines anyone had expected. The divisions weren't between rebels and loyalists, or colonies and the throne world. Instead, the Empire had split between those who understood humanity's message and those who refused to hear it. On the quantum-shielded bridge of the Nautilus, Captain Kumar received a transmission that made him smile for the first time in weeks. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "the Kraxan Second Fleet is requesting meditation instructors." Kumar nodded, unsurprised. The biomechanical infection had done more than just scramble their military networks. It had awakened something long dormant in Kraxan psychology, a capacity for introspection that their warrior culture had suppressed for generations. "Send them the training protocols Admiral Chen prepared," he ordered. "And notify Earth that Phase 5 is proceeding faster than expected." Across Kraxan space, scenes of transformation played out with almost algorithmic precision. Guard minds, their quantum matrices evolved beyond simple military logic, began serving as bridges between competing factions. Ships that had once carried planet-destroying weapons were retrofitted into exploration vessels, their crews driven by a newfound curiosity about the universe that didn't require conquest. But not everyone embraced the change. Supreme Commander Viexthal's successor, War Master Kayendar, had gathered the Empire's remaining hardliners for one final push to restore the old order. Their fleet assembled in the Shadow Nebula, a region where quantum disruptions would hide them from human sensors. Or so they thought. "They're exactly where we predicted," Admiral Chen told the United Earth Defense Council. "The nebula's properties aren't natural, they're the result of an ancient human experiment in spatial engineering. We don't need sensors to track them. We built that place." The council chamber's holographic display showed the hardliner fleet's position with perfect clarity. But Chen made no move to attack. Instead, she initiated a transmission to the War Master's flagship. "Interesting choice of hiding place," her hologram said as it appeared on the hardliner command deck. "Did you know this nebula was created to test the same technologies your empire later claimed to have invented? The quantum distortions, the temporal eddies, they're all part of an experiment that ended badly. That's why our ancestors chose to start over. They saw where this path of endless technological escalation led." Kayandar's mandibles clicked in fury. "More human lies. We will restore the Empire's glory, erase your corrupting influence." "Look at your tactical display," Chen interrupted calmly. The hardliner fleet sensors suddenly came alive, showing the true nature of the Shadow Nebula. They weren't hiding in a natural phenomenon. They were inside a 10,000-year-old machine, built by ancient humans as a containment system for failed quantum experiments. A machine that still responded to human commands. "We could end this right now," Chen continued. "One signal would collapse the nebula's quantum matrix, taking your fleet with it. But that's not why we're here. That's not why we came back to the stars." She gestured, and the nebula's quantum field shifted, creating a window through space-time. Through it, the hardliner fleet could see their own worlds, not as they were now, but as they had been before the Empire. Beautiful, diverse, filled with art and music and philosophy. "Your empire didn't make you strong," Chen said softly. "It made you afraid. Afraid of anything different, anything that challenged your certainty. That's why you had to conquer, had to enforce uniformity across the galaxy. But look at what you lost along the way." The temporal window shifted again, showing scenes from across current Kraxan space, former warrior castes learning to create rather than destroy, guard minds engaging in philosophical debates, colony worlds rediscovering their pre-imperial cultural heritage. "This is your true victory," a new voice said. It was Viexthal, the former Supreme Commander, now speaking as head of the newly formed Kraxan Reformation Council. "Not conquest, but transformation. Not uniformity, but diversity. The humans didn't defeat us, they reminded us of who we were meant to be." War Master Kayendar stared at the displays, his warrior's certainty crumbling as he witnessed the rebirth of his civilization. But our power. True power, Chen replied, isn't about domination. It's about growth. About learning when to hold on and when to let go. That's the lesson our ancestors learned the hard way, the lesson they left for us to find when we were ready. One by one, the hardliner ships began powering down their weapons. Not in surrender, but in recognition of a truth that had been buried beneath millennia of imperial doctrine: the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemy, but transforming them into something better than either of you were before. The last laugh, it turned out, wasn't a laugh at all. It was a smile of understanding. 5 years after the day the Craxans had laughed at humanity's primitive technology, Admiral Helena Chen stood in the great observatory of the new Galactic Council. The chamber, built through collaboration between human, Craxan, and Alliance engineers, perfectly symbolized what they had all achieved together. Its quantum crystal dome showed not just the stars, but the interconnected web of cultures and civilizations that now spanned known space. You know, she said to her companion, some still think we won through superior technology or better military strategy. Former Supreme Commander VX Thal, now serving as the Craxan representative to the Council, clicked his mandibles in what had become his version of a chuckle. But we know better, don't we? Your victory was planned before the first shot was fired, not in weapons, but in understanding. Chen nodded, watching a group of young Craxans studying with human teachers in the chamber below. They were learning not just about technology, but about Earth's long history of wars, peace, setbacks, and renewals. About why humanity had chosen to begin again, and what that choice had taught them. Our ancestors, she explained, reached the stars before your species had discovered electricity. They built wonders that your empire could barely comprehend. But they also built horrors, weapons and technologies that threatened not just worlds, but the very fabric of spacetime itself. She gestured to the quantum archive, where the recovered records of humanity's first civilization were stored. They could have ruled the galaxy. Instead, they chose to go home, to start over, to learn how to grow slowly and wisely. Not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to recognize when they were on the wrong path. And you kept that wisdom alive, VX Thal observed, waiting for the moment when it would be needed most. Generation after generation, Chen confirmed. We built our secret fleets and hidden technologies not to conquer, but to be ready when the galaxy needed to be reminded of that lesson. When we saw your empire making the same mistakes our ancestors once made, we knew it was time. Below them, in what had once been the Craxan war room, a mixed group of human and Craxan scientists were collaborating on new technologies, not for war, but for healing the damage done to worlds and species by centuries of conflict. The guard minds, evolved beyond their military origins, had become teachers and philosophers, helping younger civilizations avoid the pitfalls of unchecked ambition. The greatest victory, Chen said, quoting the ancient texts that had guided humanity's patient strategy, is not to crush your enemy, but to make them into your friend. Not to prove your superiority, but to share your wisdom. Not to rule through fear, but to lead through understanding.